Well, they put out a survey today that tells us just how big a problem cost of living is for the people who reach out and take advantage of their incredible help. A survey of more than 1,700 people who've accessed the Salvo services shows 64%, repeat, 64% have been unable to pay their utility bills due to a lack of funds. That's the power bills. Half of the respondents on hardship payments say that they are doing that with energy providers, and 74% in the middle of winter are cutting down on heating, and 70% are trying to limit the number of lights that are on in their home. Now, this is a situation that is getting worse, not because of a war in Ukraine, but because of an obsession that the left has in this country of trying to fix 43% of 1% of the world's global carbon emissions. Part of that is racing towards technology that hasn't been proven to work and cost trillions of dollars to put in place. We even have it on tape, the very moment when this government instituted what they did promise at the election, would deliver $275 cuts to your power bills. This was the deal to tell the UN we're going to deal with 43% of 1% of the world's climate problems, while China can continue to spew in 16 days what we do in an entire year. That idiot, Chris Bowen, who's the energy minister, doing the bidding of the Prime Minister, clapped on by much of the media, who can afford all of these changes. Well, he, of course, uses every opportunity to tell us renewables are the answer. But as I have said for 10 years, it's not about whether renewables are the right thing to do, whether they're the mousetrap of the future, whether it is the best technology, but it's the cost of the transition. And when the government signed a piece of paper demanding that by the year 2030, that's the same year China will have to start to hold account for its carbon emissions, that this will cost, according to the CSIRO, about $1 trillion. It'll be a lot more than that. In the case of one energy provider who recently spoke at a symposium about all of this, $16 billion worth of transition that's going to happen under his company will, and I quote, be added to power bills. This is what they didn't want to talk about. This is what they wouldn't put a number on in 2019. They just found a different wrapping for it in 2022, and they were clapped on by the media. The same media that used cost of living as a weapon during an election campaign and now barely talk about it, now that everything is a whole lot worse. Remember, these decisions are decisions made by government, by people who sit at the front end of the plane or have a private jet of their own, playing with a whole bunch of CEOs earning hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, cheered on by teal voters or others who are going to make an awful lot of money out of this transition. The reality is that the people who are currently having to turn off their freaking heater a quarter of the way through the 21st century to survive the financial cost of this transition are the ones that have to pay. But the smugness of the Prime Minister continues because he assumes he'll be there forever. The Teals will keep the Liberal Party away from 76, the Greens will always back them in, and therefore he will always remain in power. Well, the polls today suggest that while he's most likely set to win another election, the margin will be a lot tighter, the Greens will be a lot stronger, and we've talked about how that could push them into a minority government, which means all of this insanity gets even worse in the next little while.